because women are considered as having less leadership abilities than men, and so their leadership is perceived to be less favorable, and so on and so forth. And so what are the obstacles? What are the obstacles that women face? And so let me pause and ask any questions, any comments for now? Or do I go on? Okay, since there are no answers, I'm assuming that that means we are together, we are one.
Yes, ma'am, together, ma'am.
Okay, so now we are looking at those obstacles. One of the major assignments I was given. What are those obstacles to female leadership? And there's a particular one called the glass ceiling. You know that if you were to walk through a glass wall, you would injure yourself. Am I correct? Not to talk of jumping up through a glass ceiling. And so you find that the glass ceiling is a metaphor that has been used to explain the gender inequities that women face in institutional context at the public realm and at the private realm. It's also a metaphor for the levels of leadership to which women have not been permitted, women have not reached. And so glass ceilings and walls are systematically constructed as consequences of cultural beliefs, behaviors, and practices. We find also that the glass ceiling metaphor emphasizes the notion that invisible and unseen structural patterns of gender discrimination are prevalent in society, which prevents women from ascending to the most prestigious, well-paying senior leadership positions. And there are data to prove this. Data shows us that women's slower ascension to the top hierarchy of leadership positions, lower earnings, fewer academically based awards, lesser presentation to top-tier leadership positions are often examples of how the glass ceiling functions and limits women's potential. And so the argument is that gender stereotypes attributed to men and women remain and are consistent among many cultures. Those are the glass ceilings. And then researchers have delved further and found that women may also experience what is referred to as psychological glass ceilings. And what are these? These are shaped by gender-based socialization. How have we been socialized? And I dare say that all of you guys, male and female, on this platform this evening, have been socialized positively, okay? And so you have overcome, particularly the young ladies, you have overcome psychological glass ceilings, which are the ways in which women themselves have internalized, we have been burdened, we have burdened ourselves and learned to accept a patriarchal gender ideology, which when is acted out, now undermines our own chances of securing leadership positions. And as we go on, I'm going to elaborate. And so the argument is that women's participation in and also their access to leadership positions is defined by cultural and belief systems in society. I have mentioned some of those. Women should be seen, not heard. Women should wear pink, not blue. Women should cry and not have a firm face. You must know how to cook. You must be the caregiver. You must know how to take care of the family, or else you have failed. The argument is that with women globally, their presence is conspicuously low in senior leadership positions across countries and across various cultures because of these psychological ceilings. And you find various obstacles hindering women's leadership advancement: patriarchy, gender power relations, role stereotyping, role socialization, public domestic divide. The public is for the men, the domestic is for the women, but even within the domestic, the man is the head. The domestic realm is still not democratized. There's emotional intelligence, there's gender culture. And so we have multifactorial and deep-seated reasons for the gap, obstacles that women face, which lead to the gaps between them and men. And these have existed for generations. And you have various problematic beliefs and perceptions held by both men and women. And all of these make solving the problem a bit difficult to resolve. Now, apart from this, I'll quickly emphasize some barriers, structural barriers. There are two types of structural issues that women face. Some are societal issues, the other are corporate or organizational issues. Now, in terms of societal issues, we're looking at forces which are deeply rooted in culture and in public policy. And these limit career advancement for women. For instance, some aspect of social programs and policy, you have limited human capital. You also have societal expectation of female participation in society. And so when we talk about social policy, for instance, these are directed towards women, and they perpetuate inequality in domestic obligations. Take maternity leave. This is usually favored over paternity leave. And indeed, it was only recently that paternity leave is granted to men. My last daughter had her baby in October, and she's been on maternity leave. Her husband was given 1 week paternity leave. That's part of what I'm saying. And so when women are also encouraged to work part-time after birth of a child, while men are not given equal opportunities to do so, you find that the social perception is that it is more appropriate for women to fulfill the commitments to family responsibilities than for men to do so. And this is reinforced. In fact, this same daughter of mine that I'm talking about, when I told her about this presentation, said, "Mommy, make sure you say that childbearing and homemaking are barriers to women gaining leadership position." And I said, "Don't worry, sweetheart, I already have it down." Yes, we all aspire to be mothers. We all aspire to keep our homes, but at what cost? Now, you find that although women have increased their participation in the workplace over the last number of decades, their domestic responsibilities have decreased only marginally. You still come from work and go to the kitchen. Although this is changing, particularly in the younger generations, and you find that this disparity creates an undesirable scenario for women. They are forced to choose an unhealthy work balance so as to be able to pursue their careers. Right now, my daughter is a stay-at-home mom, searching for work in the UK because she cannot afford to she doesn't want to keep her 3-month-old son in the daycare. And so she has a PhD also from the UK, but she's looking for a job that she can do from home, a virtual remote work. And that means that she's going to be looking for jobs that are not at par with her qualification. And so those are part of the sacrifices that I am trying to explain. Now, another societal issue for women is their limited human capital, the skills, experience, and knowledge that an employee brings to a position. Now, culturally, the expectation is that it is more appropriate for women to interrupt their careers due to family responsibilities, like caring for children, aging parents, and so on and so forth, than for men to do it. I've given you the example of my daughter. Now, women are also encouraged to work in departments that have fewer developmental opportunities or do not translate to executive advancement for the sake of the home. So you find that women may compensate for this lack of experience by developing specialized expertise through their higher education degrees if they are lucky. For my daughter, she has excellent baking skills. So now that she's gone back to the UK, she's advertising her cake business. So that she can do from home. Then how about corporate structures? Although less widespread than societal structures, issues related to corporate structures significantly affect women's potential in a more direct way. For instance, organizational structures can interfere with and inhibit female advancements. For example, the Old Boys Network, which have increased ambiguity about, and there's also increased ambiguity, about advancement and what is called glass cliffs. I would explain. By Old Boys Network, we mean within organizations, there are existing networks that are homogeneous and long-standing. And these networks are mainly embedded by men, and very difficult for women to break into. Women are uncomfortable with this networking, and men themselves have little interest in welcoming female members into it. And so because of these factors, the support network around women at higher levels of leadership is limited and unhelpful. It's like a clique, the old boys, our boys, it's the boys club. We go out together, we meet together, we can meet at night, we can make our meetings at early morning hours. We meet at pubs or whatever. We play golf together. Even where women play golf, they hardly compete with men. And it is at these kind of informal sessions that men move ahead of the women. And so you find that despite the fact that women and men have similar educational attainments, they have similar ambitions, status, starting salaries, and all of that, men generally progress faster than women. And so the men's associations with their male peers play a significant role in their rise to power and prestige. How about promotion to senior positions, which require more than superior skills and experience? And so you find that this may be influenced by unclear guidelines and parameters, such as amicable relationships with powerful people or unstated expectations. And so the way to participate in opportunities for career development, for instance, in organizations, in institutions, such as training or travel outside of your home base, travel outside of country, are often veiled in secrecy. And this ambiguity increases when the employee is a woman. Then you have glass cliffs, which are different from ceilings. This is another threat to women entering positions of power. Now you find that in terms of glass cliffs, women are favored for positions that lead units in crisis. When the units are in crisis, that's when you call on a woman. So a scenario is created in which burnt out or failure is a potential risk. Women who are pushed through the glass ceiling are now seen as being desirable candidates to take over crisis situations where they could fail. And so due to the limited support networks around them, you find women often find these roles highly stressful. And so they often leave their positions. And by leaving their position, this is often attributed to the women's lack of skills or her unwillingness to commit to the hard work needed at higher levels of leadership. And then there's sex discrimination, which I'm sure you know. Discriminatory are often veiled in inaccurate facts about women's capacity to lead. prejudices and gender stereotypes persist because they allow males to protect their privileged status and keep women in their places. You have the institutional mindsets, various types of gender biases again and stereotyping. For example, and I want to state this example, you have what is called role incongruity, which occurs when someone holds the belief or stereotype about a group that are inconsistent with the behavior thought to be necessary to succeed in a specific role. So for instance, there's a common belief that gender differences make men and women effective in different roles. So women are seen to be less effective to the extent that the leader role is masculinized, and so women are seen to be more effective when the role is feminized. So a woman can be an effective military leader, but her platoon, for instance, may not support her. Why? Because she's in a role considered to be incongruent with femininity. Now, a similar problem exists with male nurses, I must say. A man can be an excellent nurse, but those he cares for may not receive him positively because he's in a role considered to be more at par, not to be at par rather, with his gender. And so there are people who say that women are expected to have male traits and that a female leader is expected to have female traits. And so to be accepted as leaders, women must walk a fine line, like I said, between these two opposing sets of expectation of what is male and what is female. There's also the individual mindsets. So as individuals, you find that our mindsets are important. These are the thoughts and behaviors women might have that might hold them back. And so when women experience discrimination in the workplace, they tend to internalize these incidents. They take responsibility for what went wrong. Because you're a woman in a senior position, you tend to have high standards of meritocracy, fine, okay? And so the subtle discrimination that is more prevalent towards today would lower one's self-esteem, and you internalize it, okay? All the situations you observe, okay? There are vague barriers, you ignore, you overlook, you try to resist. But then you see it's the experiences, even if they are a barrier, you respond by internalizing it inappropriately, rationalizing it, trying to make sense of it, or sometimes avoiding the career altogether, which is bad. And then there are lifestyle choices, the work balance, family choices, and breadwinner caregiver priorities. Now, these choices are not negative, but what I'm saying is that they are considered barriers because they contribute to the leadership gender gap. So if a woman is the primary breadwinner in a household, she's also usually the primary caregiver. Now, if a man is the primary breadwinner, he is rarely the primary caregiver. So an important distinction that families must carefully consider when considering career aspiration is the lifestyle choices. And so we need more balance. And having said this, is to say that there are also solutions to these barriers. And whilst as women aspiring to leadership position, we experience a lot of barriers, there are solutions to overcoming them. For instance, for structural barriers, you might choose to have a mentor or, okay, sponsors. A mentor would help to guide you, advise you. A sponsor would advocate for you and help you as a woman move to the next position. It's also important that we have a change of institutional mindsets, because this is a significant barrier and a major reason why we don't see women at top levels of leadership. There are assumptions people make about women at work women as leaders. And so women are limited in their advancements, or even not even given opportunities because of biases, okay? And you find that many of these biases that people have towards women are unconscious. They don't know it, but they are unconscious. And by being unconscious, they act it. And you find that these are hidden reflective preferences which change our worldviews and can impact on our institutions and how we engender the advancement of women. Another is changing individual mindsets. As women, we need to change our mindsets. For instance, I'll give an example, which came out in one of my research. One example of individual mindsets or limitation is office housework. Office housework. Getting the coffee or getting the soft drinks, making notes, getting refreshments for meeting, picking up the donuts, helping the new intakes, planning the holiday party, all of those so-called feminine things. I remember as a junior lecturer in my department, I refused to head the welfare committee. I refused. Why must I? Get a man to help and I will support. That's the kind of thing. The behind the scene work that helps a company run smoothly, but for which there are no remuneration. They are supportive and helpful, but let others contribute to it, okay? Because men tend to volunteer for activities that are visible. Women should not volunteer for activities that are not visible. So that's what I mean about changing our mindset. And we also need to accommodate lifestyle choices. Work balance priorities, which show that, which we now know are more valued than in the previous generations. And you find that most recent data show that in this new millennium, men value work-life balances as much as women do. But there are many organizations who still adhere to rigid work hours, structures, and policies. And for me, one good thing about COVID is that it has shown us that we need to have a different mindset about working. We now work offline, we now work at home, we work virtual, we work remotely. I told you my daughter is looking for a remote job, okay? And so it's important to know that women often want different things that men do. And we are confronted with barriers that men do not have to face, but we can overcome these barriers. That's what I am saying. We can overcome the barriers. We must insist on being treated equally. We must build a sisterhood amongst ourselves. We must generate revenue legitimately, exude confidence, okay? You need to be comfortable knowing that people will always try to take you off your game or dislike you for no apparent reason. But if you go in knowing this, then you have a clear idea of who you are, what your purpose is, and what you're trying to achieve. And so no one can run you down. And like I always tell my female students in class, you must learn to speak up. Okay, don't be in a role or sit at the table. That's not enough. Make your presence known as a leader and a contributor for good. Share your voice. And then build alliances with decision makers. I've said it, look for mentors and look for sponsors. Become a member of the executive suite, even if it's vice president. Some of my male students say when it comes to various organizations on campus, women will vie for vice president. Well, they know that that is where they are more likely to be accepted and they can make a difference. That's why they vie for it. And I say, what's wrong with it? It is still part of the executive. And so you vie for it. You stand in your success. You trust your own voice. You shift your word, your choices, and enter the paid workforce, no matter what level. Whether you've had a child, whether you've taken time off, develop new skills, catch up with technology, and relaunch yourself and look for mentors that will help you do so. And so what I'm saying in terms of this is that there are opportunities for us which we can tap into. So I like quotations. There's one that says, "It is pointless to be scratched to the bleeding point by the breaking of the glass ceilings if no one follows in your footsteps." And so you break this glass ceiling and that's the end of the story. No, it shouldn't be the end of the story, because women leaders will paint the future. The future is for us. A woman who is currently not in a leadership role can be a daunting prospect entering such a high-profile role with the current stigmas that are attached to it. And so what I'm saying is that we shouldn't push away the youngest generation like you guys from striving to break down barriers. And so when you enter the workforce, or if you're in the workforce, you need to be inspired by other women who are currently smashing their role as a leader in society. And that's why you have scratched yourself, you have bled whilst breaking the glass ceiling. And so, oh dear. Sorry, I seem to have lost some of. And so what I'm saying is that the opportunities abound. And I'm giving two examples. First is to note that there are opportunities in technology, the world of technology. Technology can lead the way. There is nothing inherently masculine about what they call blockchain or artificial intelligence or machine learning. No, there's nothing like that. Although the technology world remains heavily dominated by men, and although we acknowledge that the greatest challenge preventing the economic gender gap from closing is women's underrepresentation in the world of technology. And we're saying, however, that this sector can balance the ledger by making roles attractive to women. Otherwise, if more women do not break this glass ceiling in the world of technology, we will miss out on the full potential of the fourth industrial revolution that is going on right now. And so we need to work closely with schools and universities to win the argument that technology isn't just a male career path. I have a daughter who is an engineer. And as a mother of women, I know what I'm talking about. Girls are inquisitive. They want to know more. They want to learn more. They want to push themselves to achieve the best. And technology has a role to play in all of this and has a responsibility in promoting diversity in the workplace, given its ability to change working relations, to encourage transparency, and to connect people around the world. So in this period of constant flux, organizations that prioritize a diverse and inclusive culture, particularly in the tech world, will be better placed to solve the problems of the future. And so women can lead in the technology sector. Okay, and now that technology is all pervasive, the traditional sector lines have become blurred. And so brands can no longer cling to the old structure, okay? Otherwise they will find themselves overtaken and left behind. That's why we need more young people in the tech world, particularly women. So we need to expose girls to STEM subjects early on. And like I said, if technology is supposed to service the whole of humanity, the big decision needs to be taken from a balanced perspective. How do we expose you young girls from the go-get to the STEM subjects? And like I said, as a mother of girls, I have 3 girls. I speak from experience. We need to encourage the curiosity of girls, the natural interest they have in programs and activities, and keep this spark alive. We need to celebrate women who have been trailblazers in this subject so that from a young age, women have more role models which they can identify with. We have more women CEOs in the technology sector than we have ever before, from Yahoo to IBM. Google it, do the research. But more work has to be done at the middle level management levels to increase the number of women at this company. And at that number, hopefully, as they increase, these two will help, as they will, in turn, be mentors, be leaders, be role models, and mothers to young girls. And this will be a good thing for worldwide, globally. The other opportunity I see is in the world of politics. Well, as a political scientist, I'm sure you are not surprised by this. The power of politics, of being part of decision making. Now, more women are being elected to legislatures across the world. In fact, data tells us that women hold about 25% of parliamentary lower house seats, 21% of ministerial positions. Yes, there is a long way to go to improve political empowerment for women typically, because this corresponds, but once we achieve this, improve political empowerment for women, there's a corresponding increase in the number of women in senior roles in the labor market. You find, for instance, that women-led governments are taking big steps forward on behalf of state economy. They've shown a real desire to listen to experts in the wider world of business. The four ladies you are seeing before you are in Finland. Finland's Prime Minister, okay, the Prime Minister of Finland, her Minister of Finance, the Minister of Interior, Minister of Education, all of them in their 30s, and they are doing great. And so we're saying that young girls, ladies should aspire, in spite of the challenges. I'm not saying there are no challenges, but we should not be browbeaten to step aside from the political world. Go into politics, start at the local government level, start at the ward level, build yourself up. And indeed, one day in a country like Nigeria, we will indeed not only have presidential aspirants or presidential contestants, but we would also have presidents, okay? Vice presidents, if not presidents, who are women. And you see, for these countries and political parties and corporations which have never appointed a woman at the top position, the suspicion is that the system isn't fair and that the glass ceilings are unbreakable. And this grows with every elections. But we're saying these can and are being broken. So we're seeing women from various fields, ex-Olympic athletes, joining the political realm. You can see them. Here before you is the New Zealand Prime Minister. She went to the United Nations with her baby. She had a baby as a Prime Minister. Her partner, she's not married, or she wasn't married then, was the stay-at-home father looking after her children.
Yes, Irene, sorry to interrupt. There's some questions in the chat box, and you said that we could ask questions.
Are.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll look at that after I'm done with this. And
okay,
so we're saying that for
our time is gradually going to an end, ma'am.
Going to an end, okay, I understand that. And so I need women more in politics. And also I am trying to open up the chat box now.
Ma'am.
I would do so in a minute. So for now, those are some opportunities which I see. And okay, and there are also, okay, you have 5 minutes left of my session. We have some questions, 2 questions because of time. How can we overcome the psychological ceiling as young leaders? And the second question, a lady girl child that has faced the patriarchal attitude right from home, where her curiosity is shunned almost immediately, and every opportunity to carry out the masculine task is, how can she overcome the low esteem, introverted lifestyle, which is a result of our experience? Or how can the gender discrimination be eliminated in families? Fine. The psychological ceiling, in fact, both questions are linked. You have to work on your mindset. You have to tell yourself, like Obama did, yes, I can. You have to re-socialize yourself, and that will be part of my conclusion. No matter how much you have been, how do I say it, socialized to believing that you cannot, it is left to you now to do the needful. And like I said, find mentors who you think would believe in you and who you also believe in. As a young leader, the challenges are clear, but the obstacles can be broken. And you are well educated, you have the right mindset, you now need to push yourself to form part of the right network, find a network that will support you, and there are various feminine networks, even in Nigeria, that you can tap onto as a young leader, either in the economic, political, or social field. And when you see and you have chosen for yourself these sponsors or mentors, then you yourself will be working on that mindset to say that you have a voice.
Okay, good evening. Can everybody see here Professor Irene, or is it only for my end?
No, I think the network too.
No, I can't.
No, me too, I can't hear.
Professor Irene, are you still here? I think our network is really bad. So because of time, we'll not be taking any questions. I think the two questions that she has, she has even left this, she has left already. So, Mr. Kingsley, can we just end it since our president, or should we wait for her to join back? Because no, there's no time again. We have less than 3 minutes.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Precious. I trust it has been a great session with Professor Irene. I think she's experiencing network issues. So we'll just end this session here, and we'll continue at exactly 7 p.m. We'll continue at 7 p.m. Temilade Salame will be joining us from England, and she'll be talking on leveraging uniqueness as a leader. Okay, can we hear me from our end?
Yes.
Yes,
we can.
please.
Okay,
Can hear you, sir.
Okay, great. So we'll be joining at 7 p.m. Please let's share the link with our friends. It's the same Zoom link which we used in joining now. Okay, Prof is back with us. So ma, because of time, we'll be ending this session now. Maybe just your last words, ma. Thank you very much for an amazing session so far. So I'll put you on now for your last words, ma. Thank you very much. Okay, Prof Irene, are you there, ma?
She has not
Can you hear
connected
me?
her audio yet. She has not connected her audio.
Okay. I think she's a network technicality. All right. So let's just wait for a while. Perhaps she has her last words with us before we end this session. We have barely 1 minute more. Okay. So since the network is not allowing now, so we'll end the session here tonight. Thank you very much, Precious, for being an amazing moderator for tonight. And thank you very much, Professor Pogoson, for an amazing session on She Leads, Opportunities and Challenges for Females in Leadership. Please let's use the chat box and appreciate our speaker for tonight. It has been an amazing and expository session with Professor Pogoson. Thank you very much, Ma. We appreciate you. Please use the chat box. Let's celebrate her. Let's celebrate her. I'm very certain that from this lesson tonight, we would go forward and have more females in leadership, being presidents of tech industries, tech organizations, being presidents of countries, being presidents of professional organizations. Thank you very much, Ma, for the expository session tonight. And here, leaders would call it a wrap for this session. Like I said earlier, joining at 7 p.m., Temilade Salami will be talking about how we can leverage uniqueness as leaders. So join us by 7 p.m. Invite your friends, share the link with them. It's going to be an amazing session. Thank you all again and see you at 7.